You've just stepped into the Midlife Revolution Unleashed, your space to ignite possibility, redefine purpose, and embrace the power that comes with age and experience. Co-hosted by yours truly, Coach Wayne.
And I'm Coach Stacy M. Lewis. We are two seasoned coaches focused on the midlife community of color. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. In a world that sometimes forgets the power and the wisdom that comes with age, we are here to ignite a revolution and rewrite the narrative of this incredible journey.
So, whether you're navigating your career, growing your business, rediscovering passions, or challenging the status quo, this is your space. So, buckle up. Let's dive into the Midlife Revolution Unleashed. It's tax day for most of us. Unless you figured out how to avoid that, and we won't use this platform to share that, Stacy. Good afternoon.
No, we are really here to ignite a revolution that says, don't fall into avoidance. Do the things that one must do, even if it's your taxes.
That's right. So we're bringing to you again live. If you're catching us right now, 6:30 on a Tuesday, 6:30, Tuesday, the 15th of April, Midlife Revolution Unleashed. And today's episode is about the polarities you deal with at midlife around striving or what, Stacy?
So today we're talking about striving or settling. It is one of the things that we have talked about in very different ways, but not in this pointed way. And so we certainly want to start by welcoming you to the Midlife Revolution Unleashed, where we are here to ignite a revolution and to more so celebrate the richness that is midlife. I am Coach Stacy M. Lewis, a nonprofit executive, a coach for midlife women, and a lover of God and his people. And I am joined by my co-host, who something tells me may not have done his taxes, Coach Wayne. Coach Wayne, introduce yourself to the people.
Already pocketed and reinvested that refund, Stacy. Did it. So there you go. Well, actually, Audrey did it on our behalf.
That's right. Give the sister the credit.
Yeah. Stacy. Speaking of which, I am seeking, if you know, or anybody that's listening to us that has a great tax lawyer, tax attorney, I have a great friend who is looking to get some services. And so please drop us that name or connect DM with us later on so we can work on that. Stacy, my camera just moved. So there we go, get settled in. So here's the thing. I am Coach Wayne. What a start. I am Coach Wayne, and I work with midlife men of color to help them navigate through what's commonly seen as a crisis period so that their second half can be their best half. Stace, today we're going to be hitting on that whole muddy kind of middle where when you get there in midlife, you're either too serious about life, wonder, hey, it's time to get serious, or you have resigned saying, hey, it's too late, you're too old, too far gone. So let's talk about that, Stacy.
Let's talk about that. And before we dive in, thank you to Michelle Lewis for joining us tonight and for giving us a big heart on Facebook, I'm sure, and to Everton. Hello, Everton. Big up to you too as well. So Wayne, one of the interesting things about this conversation, right? The striving or the settling, is that as a coach and even just, as a midlifer, I imagine that you've come across both. I definitely have. And I found myself in both seasons not at the same time, but at different times. And so, one of the things that I think is important is for us to remember in those seasons of striving or settlings, to laugh. And I'm going to say that for our listeners, when was the last time you did something that made you laugh like a kid? I can tell you what I did.
Go ahead, Stace.
I went knife throwing, and I literally, paid money to get a number of axes and a number of knives and learn how to toss them at the target. I tell you, I laughed like a kid because I was so bad at it, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great. And we have to remember that there's so much joy to be had in life, regardless of what the current moment holds.
Stacy, I got to pause for a cause and I got to holler at my brother from another mother, Sir Everton Hannum. He knew me when I used to wear short pants back in the days. And so that's my man right there. Talking about reinventing yourself. This brother has gone on to represent himself and Jamaica at all levels internationally. Shout out, brother. Keep doing it. He is a
Big
mover
up.
and shaker, quite an example.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So, when's the last time I laugh? I laugh at myself all the time, Stacy. If my neighbors are listening in when it's pretty quiet at night, they'll hear Audrey cracking up because I just wake up and just do something silly, and I enjoy that. You know, it keeps me young and fresh, and agile. Now, remember, I have 4 biological kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I have 3 grandkids by way of Audrey's daughter. And so in terms of and Audrey has 3 biological. So we have a bunch of kids and young adults around us on a regular basis. And I'm the clowniest guy you will find, Stacy. I do that. But in a minute I could switch. And in a minute when I switch, I'm a serious dude. And unless you are rocking on that energy, you don't want to be around because I take myself so seriously. Stacy,
Mm.
we'll talk about it later in terms of making a decision around that balance between the pendulum.
Yeah, I think it's important to talk about the balance. Usually, the subtitle of today's episode is "Too Serious or Too Settled," right? Reclaiming joy, health, and the spark in midlife. And what we found is that there are usually two extremes, right? The pendulum is swinging. You're striving or you're settling. And one extreme is the hustler with no humor. Do you know anything about that, Wayne? Would you
Yeah.
consider yourself on the pendulum swing of the hustler with no humor?
No, I'm not. I'm a hustler in that I'm seeking ways, multiple streams, but I'm seeking ways to make that cheddar. But there's always going to be some jokes in me. I'm Jamaican,
Okay.
man. We got jokes, right? And I'll tell you, you can't survive life in the islands unless you have a thick skin, because everybody has a name and something going on. So I was raised like that. And to be honest with you, um, even as I'm taking care of business, if I give somebody my word and I say to them, the contract or whatever the deliverable is going to be is X time, I am serious as a judge. I'm going all out to deliver it, losing sleep, skipping vacation, whatever I got to do. So at that level, I'm serious. But if I'm working with a crew that's all shoulders in the grind and moving,
Mm-hmm.
we gonna find time to kick it off and give jokes.
Mm-hmm. So you're basically trying to say you swing toward the hustler, but you got humor.
Got to keep it alive.
Got to keep it alive. You can be high achieving and joy deprived, and that is certainly what we want people to be aware of during this season. You can be high achieving and joy deprived. The other side of the pendulum. Good evening, Curtis, and yes, catch the replay. We'll miss you. The other side of the pendulum is that of the resigned realist, right? And this is often where I can find myself. It is what it is. I'm not going to sweat it. I'm not going to um, do a lot of advocating for certain things. I'm going to draw the line and be like, it is what it is. And I recognize that too can swing the pendulum so far that it becomes um, almost like a lack of advocacy, or a lack of self advocacy, or I'll give up on the things that I may really want, but I might give up for a moment because it is what it is. And so, I have to make sure that when I feel that pendulum swinging towards that way, that, I'm really asking myself, okay, is that decision, right? That decision to say, it is what it is, or it's not that big of a deal. Is that decision in alignment with my goals, my values, my vision, and what God is calling me to do? And so I think one thing we want to make sure that, our listening audience knows is that regardless of where you are, if you see yourself in either of these extremes, you can get back to center, right? And it's important that we really begin to look at the root of what's going on. I did a lot of talking, Sir Wayne. What
It's
say
all good.
you?
I did a lot of listening. It's part of the deal. So, Stacy, one of the things my brother-in-law and my sister, they were here. We'll talk about that. Last week, I hosted them at the home, and I just thoroughly enjoyed that. And I was rapping with my brother-in-law, and he said to me, "Look, Wayne, don't sweat the small stuff." And you
Mm,
know what follows? It's all
it's
small
all
stuff.
small stuff.
And
Yeah.
so, one of the things that we have to recognize when we start saging rather
Mhm.
than aging is that there's nothing that you should be truly hung up about. You
Right.
know, you gotta, as they say, let go, let God. You gotta let it go and let it be worked through. Not saying you're
Mhm.
going to be irresponsible, but sometimes we take life too seriously and we miss the opportunities to create moments
Yeah.
and memories because we're so busy fighting a fight when we don't have to. You know, part of it is to just let things flow and go. And it's a message for all of us.
Absolutely, Wayne. That was so well said. And certainly want to say good evening to Kelly, who agrees. And I don't know, it looks like a face palm when we said the high achieving and joy deprived. That thing is real, and we have to continue to check ourselves. What's often we want to know what's at the root, right? One thing as coaches is that we are not therapists, yet there's usually some root, something underlying your behaviors, your actions, your mindset. And we want to really get to the root of those extremes with that, whichever side you're on. And one root for some in midlife is the expectations for midlife. The expectations of us to either be so seasoned that we're no longer bothered by anything, or for us to be superhuman in that we can really conquer all. So, we get back to the hustler with no humor. What do you think about that, Wayne?
Yeah, I think there are some expectations, and today we're dealing with expectations that are set outside of what we consider the norm growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Think about what's
Mm-hmm.
happening in terms of the impact and influence of social media. If there's ever a thing called false news, it's the standard set by social media,
Mm-hmm.
where people are able to stage a reality. And so the expectations that we follow oftentimes around what stages and ages we should do things are not necessarily practical or pragmatic in either way. And so we have to give ourselves grace and
Yeah.
allow us to fall in place as we should, all natural.
Absolutely. That was, again, well said.
Thank you.
Another thing that is often at the heart or at the root of the extremes is what's called the wound of worth. And this lack of trust in our worth or our value, lack of trust in maybe our body's ability to recover, to persevere, our mind's ability to regenerate and think new, um, and that can really hold us back or hold us on one side of the pendulum, whether it is the hustler with no humor, the resigned realist. So we really want to look at the root of what is causing that mindset so that we make sure that we're really addressing it.
Yeah. Stacy, I think a lot of times what happens is when we get to this space where we start measuring, and again, we didn't mention this as we were going over this
Mm-hmm,
in the green room, but that comparison with others outside of ourselves. We
mm-hmm,
look at what's happening in the world and we're saying, we're dealing with midlife. I should be here. I should have done this. I should have acquired this. And that comparison is certainly a betrayal of our truth. It's going to stop us from having fun and moving forward as we should with lightness to our feet, or
mm-hmm.
it's going to make us feel heavy in our soul, right? And sometimes a lot giddier than we should be, and frivolous, and not move with purpose. And so we have to truly take a look, be honest with ourselves, and not compare with the Joneses.
Absolutely, man. You said a lot there with the comparison thing. Comparison is the killer of your confidence. It is the killer of your self-esteem. And it can be a killer to your forward momentum. Comparison has got to go. And it's certainly an area that I've struggled in over time. Thank goodness for aging and saging, as that for me is in the past, until you start to look at someone on social media and you're like, oh man, maybe I should have done it that way, or oh, right. So I appreciate you raising that and reminding ourselves to even check ourselves. We really do hold the power to coach ourselves sometime. And I would say that comparison, could really help us to make sure, or lack of comparison, checking when we're in comparison, help us to make sure that we are rebalancing the pendulum.
Yeah. As midlife people of color, sometimes we adopt our own more stress than we can afford to carry
Hmm.
because we are answering to cultural norms or expectations, false narratives. As Black men, we oftentimes are dealing with the burden of having to show up a certain way, and oftentimes not being able to be fun enough, light enough in our soul and our spirit, because
Hmm.
it makes us giddy as far as others in our community, right? So people are looking at us, and we show up, with this stoic kind of face and behavior, and it
Hmm.
doesn't let us allow us to be free.
Yeah, yeah, no, that was well said. That cultural piece of it, right? Not just being people of color or not, but being a woman, being a man. What are the cultural nuances and expectations that might come or are connected to that, and how do we make sure we are individually maintaining balance, or centering in a way that is lessening the pendulum swing, right? We still have a lot to accomplish as midlife people. There's a lot in us and we have work to do. And so we don't want to get complacent and say that, oh, well, I'm too old or it's too late. And therefore, I'm done. So I think that it was really important to talk about like this idea of checking yourself. Wayne and I have some coaching questions, some self-coaching questions that you can ask yourself as you are doing your own self-assessment, right? Taking your own breath and saying, wait, am I striving too much or am I settling too much? And one of those questions is, when was the last time you truly felt playful or joyful?
Yeah, Stacy, I had family over last week, like I shared. And last time I saw my sister, she literally was on one foot in the grave. She was waiting on a transplant organ,
Mm,
and it was maybe 7 years ago. And we chat a lot every week. But for whatever reason, she hasn't been traveling. She's much better now, 7 years later,
amen.
and
Amen.
actually traveled to see our sister in Jamaica, and then came and spent time with myself and Audrey, her and my brother-in-law Neville.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta tell you, Stacy, as much as I'm a coach and it's easier said than done, I am a victim of the same issue of letting go and just allowing myself, giving myself permission to be easy. So
Mm,
last week, I declined a lot of opportunities to get work done because my family was here and I wanted to be available to them, right? They're great hosts and whenever we get to Canada. And so I put back some things to do, and my identity was so locked in to working hard and grinding as an entrepreneur that I had to take a break at the end of the day to talk myself off the ledge to say, it's okay, Wayne, it's okay. You can let go. You're with family, have fun and relax. I had to do that on a regular basis. I admit it is
mm-hmm.
not easy. But at the end of the day, I created my own affirmation and mantra to say, I am chasing memories, not money. I am
Mm.
chasing memories, not money. And when I said that, I gave myself permission to be light and have fun with my family that was here.
Wow, that was great, Wayne. Yeah, Kelly, finding that playful place, it is really important, right? God said He wants us to live life and live such more abundantly, and that abundantly is not in that white knuckling, which is what I just heard Wayne talking about, right? It was almost like we're used to talking about white knuckling in a way that we're white knuckling it through a bad situation or through a work challenge, but you were literally having to still and posture yourself in a situation that was designed to be joyful, right? Your time with family, and thank God that your sister is doing so wonderfully well. And there you were. I love your honesty and your authenticity. There you were, white knuckling it, right? Like, what work opportunities am I missing? What money am I not making? What speech am I not giving, right? What client am I not coaching? And congratulations to you for being able to swing your pendulum back to the place where you were in the present and focus less so on the money and more so on the memories. And so, that what one area have you been white knuckling it in life is another question. And it can be not just when you are on the job, but really, as you just shared, Wayne, in one of those situations where you're living life.
And congrats to you too, Stacy, because I asked you today, how are you coping with your mother's transition? It's been 2 weeks and you're getting back into the role of work.
Mm-hmm.
And you told me that you've given yourself grace to roll in, and you have up days and down days. And so you're not pressuring yourself. You're allowing yourself to roll in as you need to. That's great.
I appreciate that, Wayne. One of the third questions um, is, where are you operating from resignation instead of resilience? And with the loss of my mom and trying and working, not trying, I'm doing, and working to re-engage my business and business development, and working to re-engage um, my leadership and the work in the organization that I work for, I find that I'm reminding myself, like, there are some areas I need to be resigned. I need to just say that is what it is. And not that the loss of my mother is not um, emotionally and profound. Yet my mother is gone from this earth. She is physically no longer with us. And so knowing that she's at peace, knowing that, her faith has called her home, I'm resigned with that reality, and having to practice a level of resilience about, like, now I move forward, right? She would want me to move forward. And I'm operating in that question often about, am I operating in resignation or am I operating in resilience?
Stacy, I think it's okay to share with folks that are listening in some coaching tips.
Yes.
And one of the coaching tips that I would offer is, just like I say to couples, plan intentional date nights or time together with your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
I would say plan silly time for yourself. Brothers,
Plan
don't
silly
take yourself
time.
so seriously and raise
Mm-hmm.
that blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Find time to unleash and let go. That's part of the midlife revolution of unleashing.
So a silly time plan. All
Silly
right.
time
All
plan.
right. All right. I think I will add to your silly time plan. I guess it can be coupled with a joy break. That, oftentimes, I don't know about you, but as we all sit a lot for work, a lot of the uh, physical instruction is about, get up once an hour, make sure you're standing or walking around. And the reality that we get to add to that is we can take 5 minutes of joy, whether it's, dancing, listening to a song that you love, or, laughing about something. To take 5 minutes to do something that brings you joy.
Yeah.
Um, Really, you can schedule that too, along with your silly time. What else you got, Wayne?
Yeah, yeah. Go out once a week to play some games and have fun with your boys, or watch a comedy show. Those are kinds of things that I like to see people do. Um, just find time for self care, pamper
Yeah.
yourself, and be light about it. Have fun
Mm-hmm.
doing that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That self-care is indeed important. And one of the things that happens when the pendulum is swung toward resignation is that sometimes we stop taking care of ourselves. And so we get to challenge ourselves with making sure that we're also checking in with our health, and making sure that we're scheduling the appointment, right? It's not over. If you're still alive, you've got work to do, and make sure that you are taking care of your physical body. And if that requires a medical advocacy challenge or something like that, where you are asking yourself one new question, or asking your provider a new question at your appointment, instead of just hearing the doctor say, okay, your blood pressure's up, here's this drug, and you saying, okay, I'll take this drug. Ask a question. What can I do in order to help my body reduce the blood pressure?
Yeah. And don't be corny. If you are leading a group, yeah, let's face it, you have leaders who start meetings on Monday morning. And it's all about the business. And I'm not saying you go in there to small talk,
Mm-hmm.
but start off with relaxing a little bit. Whether you do a little deep breathing with the team or debriefing with the team. Hey, check in. How was the weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, be human, especially today with the uncertainty that we are all faced with, this is a great time to pull back and just find time to smell the roses.
Yes, yes, yes. To appreciate being alive, right? To be in the present. That is why they call it the gift.
Yes.
Um, let's talk. Just let's give our audience couple of mindset shifts, and one of those shifts is that I'm allowed to have fun and still be faithful to my purpose and my calling. So often, and I can relate to this because I'm like just thinking about times when I'm like, no, if I take this break, or, to your earlier uh, story that you shared, experience that you shared, right? That if I take this break, am I being faithful to what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I still pursuing my purpose, my passions, my dreams? You are allowed to have fun and still be faithful to your purpose.
Absolutely. And acknowledging that your body and your spirit is wise.
Mhm.
And all you need to be is obedient. Just tune into it and listen to the silent
Mhm.
whispers and follow
Yes,
through.
be obedient. God is always saying something. Yes, and remind yourself that your best days, your healing, your victory, your success is not behind you. Right, the word talks about your latter days being greater than your past days, and it's available now. Now is the time to live. Now is the time that you are given. And wherever you find yourself in this pendulum between settling and striving, um that it's not too late to start to really correct that pendulum swing.
Yeah. Stacey, I get hired all the time to speak. And
Mhm.
sometimes I run from the back, and in the dark, it's easy to trip yourself up, right? So, I mean, even the idea that that would happen is taking myself lightly. And I get on and I'm dancing the first 30 seconds before I get going. It doesn't matter if it's a corporation or youth. It's just bringing that to the table, Stacy. It makes me feel charged. And guess what? Usually, I don't have an audience laughing at me; they're laughing with me. So
I
we
love
should
it.
do that. Yeah.
I'm glad that you don't trip in the dark, because even the Mayo Clinic says that laughter improves immune system response and increases pain tolerance by releasing endorphins. Oh, God has created such a miracle in a body, and so there's so many opportunities that we have. Before we close out our episode for the night, let's just give a little bit of call to action. Remind our listeners to reflect. Are you the over serious striver, resigned realist, or a mix?
And if you're using social media, which you are if you're listening to us, why don't you post something about yourself that celebrates
Mm.
joy and fun, a gathering, whatever it is? We challenge you to do that this week.
Oh, I love that. That's part of that joy challenge. That schedule silly time and plan for joy. Kelly, thank you so much for taking such great notes. Anybody that catches the replay on LinkedIn, at least you'll be able to see those comments, and so you'll be able to act. Let's plug in to opportunities to build community. We talked about community last time. I shared opportunity to learn more about the Midlife Sisters Collective. Wayne will be talking more about his community. Remember that we really are here to celebrate. You get to celebrate with us right now, as this is our 50th episode of Midlife Revolution Unleashed.
Woo.
Woo, woo.
I didn't know that. That's
I,
pretty cool.
that's so exciting, isn't it?
Congrats to us.
But our heart's desire is really to share wisdom and knowledge and coaching tips that help our listening audience grow, thrive, live on purpose with passion, impossibilities, and being the best and the highest that they were created and put on this earth to be.
Stacy,
Yes, Wayne.
no, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, we just want to celebrate our great job. Ah, look at that. So this Michelle Lewis, I happen to know her. Yes, my last name is Lewis too. Yay for 50 episodes. Hey, Michelle, that is my big sister. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on the
Hey,
Midlife
Michelle.
Revolution Unleashed. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Nice to see you, Michelle, and meet you. So here's what we're going to do, Stace. We're going to wrap
Yes,
it up
sir.
for the afternoon and let folks know how to connect with you, Stacy, to get some of that good old-fashioned coaching that you offer.
Good old fashioned coaching. It is my joy to be here. If you're watching on LinkedIn and Facebook, you know how to reach me. Otherwise, you can connect with me at thestacymlewis.com. What about you, Wayne?
I say get up in my site. It's VIP. What's it again? It's VIP.
This is how we started the episode, isn't it? Check out Wayne at VIPtransformativelyving.com.
Yeah, I'm distracted. I got 3 screens open. VIPtransformativelyving.com. You'll see all my handles. And if you want to do the shortcut thing, just DM me. Get up in my DM. Send me a note. I'll be happy to meet up with ya.
Yes, one thing I'll say about Wayne, those of you that do not know, hey, Michelle, is that Wayne's video game is on point. So if you are on Facebook, if you are on LinkedIn, you will find it very easy to find Coach Wayne Dawson VIP because his video game is fire. Okay,
And
Wayne.
we got to thank you, Stacey. We got to fire out of here until next time. So, folks, walk good.
Walk good.
And there you have it, folks. This week's episode of the Midlife Revolution Unleashed. Hey, we truly appreciate your spending this time in this space with us. Join us next week at the same time as we dive into relevant topics and present solutions to spark new thinking and empower your midlife journey.
And don't forget, if you enjoyed today's episode, let us know in the comments and share it with others. And of course, remember to subscribe, share, like, hit that notification bell. You are the Midlife Revolution Unleashed. I'm Coach Stacy, and I'm cheering you on.
And I'm Coach Wayne, and I'll see you at the top.